wheels, little cogs, and all the other people parts it takes to run the world.
From the 2010 Best of Booty Collection, this is the Morning Stream.
And we're back. That was pretty cool.
Yeah. Like I said, I mean, and there's some weird stuff on this album, like mixes of a little bit of dubstep. It's got a very cyberpunk kind of feel to it. You feel like you're in a dystopian, post-apocalyptic future where it kind of all looks like the Middle East, sand dunes and people climbing and stuff like that. Really, really cool stuff.
Yeah, it seems all right. Well, that leaves us really in one place today for fun. I don't know what I'm saying.
Does it?
I'm just sort of getting ready here, but we got to get Wendy in here because
it's part of the deal. It's part of the agreement that we have with with Wendy to get her in here. With
Wendy in particular. And our listeners, our listeners expect it.
Specifically Wendy.
Indeed. These are all true things that you're saying.
Hello.
Oh, hi. Hello, Wendy. How are you?
Hello.
Hi.
Oh, hello. I'm fine.
How are you? Hey, good. Did you guys weather the Trump visit to Minneapolis okay? Everything go okay there? Was all fine? Were you aware that he came there and hung out and talked?
I think I was sort of aware. No, not really, actually.
All right. Yeah, he did a rally there because he's always rallying.
Loves the rallies. He did his stand-up tour. Passed through.
That's right.
Everything passed through Minneapolis, so
yeah.
Garbage included.
Garbage in. Oh, look at that. Throwing some shade.
Oh, dang.
Oh.
I like it a lot. All right. Hey, here's her intro.
Car will smell like a bum.
Car will smell like a bum. It's Wendy Johnson Dunford, who is my sister and also a trained professional in the area of cognitive study and psychology. And she has come on the show every Thursday pretty much since the beginning of this show back in 2011 to help you with your real problems. In fact, Wendy, you were in your 30s when we started doing this.
Oh, I know. That was the decade.
That was the decade. 30s were good. I liked my 30s.
30s are good, but I can't figure out an age where I would go back because I feel like, maybe physically it'd be nice to go back to 23, but just none of the junk, all the stuff you get rid of as you go along is awesome.
What if you could just go back for a while and let's say 2 weeks just to go visit it and then you'd come back? What era would you go to?
Oh, weird.
For me, it'd be like junior high or something like that.
Oh, you mean like you just observe yourself, or you'd be in your body?
You'd be in your body, but let's say that you could carry with you your knowledge from
all the
now.
Knowledge and stuff that you have now.
Yeah, and the minute you left the body to go back, it's not like it would be retained. Like I'd go back to the same awkward, skinny idiot that I was before I entered it. But I would.
Okay, so the junior high you in the other realm would be none the wiser, but you squeeze into your skinny body again for a couple days.
Yeah.
And you come back now and think, dang, I'm glad I'm fat and old now.
Well, no, the idea is that you would it would be a very temporary thing, but you would take all of your modern knowledge that you've learned since you were that age. You would then go to that age, be that for 2 weeks with that knowledge, so you could see everything with that perspective.
This is the worst Jennifer Garner rom-com I can possibly
It's pretty bad. It's pretty bad.
I would go to junior high and I would find all the kids that I didn't see before.
Yeah.
You don't see other people in junior high. You don't. You see yourself constantly like, am I awkward? Am I weird? What am I doing? And I would just I don't know.
Yeah.
Bring some kind of psychedelics with me. Hand them out. I mean, the social experiments you could do would be so fun. But you'd have to be.
Check out my smartphone.
Yeah, oh my gosh, that would be amazing.
Yeah, they'd burn you like a witch, though. They'd think you were.
They totally would.
Yeah.
Exactly.
They would. That's true.
They'd think you were some alien from another planet. Well, anyway, that's a fun experiment that none of us will get to try. Hey, if y'all are up to it, today's the day. 801-471-0462. You can call in and you can get your HEP for nothing. It's going to cost you a dime. Wendy does this for free. You know, normally it's like sessions and it costs money, and it's, you know, it's a whole formal deal. But here you get like rudimentary help over the phone for absolutely free. Well, how much are we saving them, do you figure? It's got to be like thousands of dollars.
Well, let's see, 7 years. That's a lot of time.
Yeah. If we added it up, I don't want
But
it.
also, let's take that kid who listened to us for 7 in his formative years. So he's 11 to 18. I mean, look at the things we've steered him from. I mean, you cannot put a price on that. That's amazing.
No, that's true. You really, you really can't. All right.
Parents had nothing to do with it.
While we wait for our first caller, I did get something in the way of a follow-up for you. I'm going to read it if you don't mind. So last week we had a conversation with Jonathan, who is blind, legally blind.
William.
I keep saying Jonathan. William.
Yeah.
I get Jonathan in New York and William in Portland mixed up, and I don't know why I do that, but I do. Anyway, this is what he says, or this is actually from somebody named Mark, but he's talking about that situation. He says, was catching up on last week's morning stream, and Wendy's segment was, as usual, interesting and helpful. The story of William, the legally blind listener, made me think of an app that is just sitting on my phone. Be My Eyes, which I also have on my phone, and forgotten that I'd put in it there, by the way. I don't know what I was thinking, but and we didn't talk about it when we had him on the line. But anyway, it's called Be My Eyes. He says, I know this is a sidetrack for the psychological subject, but it could have helped William in the morning that he lost his cane. The app connects volunteers to blind people by doing a one-way video voice chat where the visually challenged can ask for help through video. Stuff like, this is crap, am I really... what? Is this crap I'm buying is really black? Oh, I get it. If this thing I'm buying is really black or not.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, it just the sentence threw me off. Is that pancake mix I'm holding gluten-free? Is the red wine I'm about to cut... What? Oh, is the red wire I'm about to cut on the bomb? Anyway, I just thought I'd be helpful. Keep up the good work. This was from Mark. And yeah, it's an app on Android and iOS. You can go get it for free, and you sign up for it, and you basically become somebody's sort of surrogate eyeballs when they may need you.
I have it on mine as well, and I still haven't gotten you're going to get a notification when somebody... when your time is nigh to help somebody.
Yeah.
I have not yet gotten a notification to help somebody.
I got one, and I replied to it. This is a while ago, and I didn't even think about it. Oh, and yes, Wendy, your question on text. Yes, we can, by the way. Sorry.
Okay.
I was looking at my phone, so I saw that text just now. Anyway, I got to help somebody. They sent a photo. It wasn't video, but it was a photo of something, and then there was some text saying, does this say... I don't even remember what it was. Does this say this? They were at a store or something like that, and I wrote back, yes, it does. And they said thank you, and that was it. And I felt really good. It was like, yeah, dude.
That's cool.
Look at this modern era we live in where everything seems crazy, but once in a while we find a way for technology to, like, you know, improve somebody's life or whatnot, which is kind of nice. Thoughts, Wendy?
It is cool.
It is cool, right?
Cool idea.
Yeah. What other ways could... Like, what if you could do... Think about this like an app for, let's see, panic attackers, okay? Someone's having a panic attack. They're on a train, they're feeling claustrophobic, and they're just suddenly overcome with a panic attack. It'd be cool if it could just go, boop, and then some volunteer could pop in and go, hey, it's okay, it's all good, just, you know, focus on my my voice, you know, so you can talk to him, talk him through it, sort of thing. Like, I've had panic attacks before where my best thing to do is call Kim and just get her on the phone and go, hey, hon, what's going on? Oh, I'm just having one of those stupid things, talk me down. And she'll do that.
And let me say, this is aligning nicely with the science that has shown some interesting things, like the voice, talking to a person's, hearing their voice lowers your stress hormones, but texting doesn't.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So we're not evolved yet, guys. We need like another 1,000 years for that to work. But what it is like you take some distressed, I think they use like adolescent teens. That's the same word, teens, and they had them talk to their mom and or text their mom or do like a FaceTime call or face-to-face hug, whatever. And the impact on their cortisol levels and all their stress hormones and oxytocin, which is the bonding, I'm safe kind of hormone. They measured all of that, and they had the same response from hugging their mom as they did talking to their mom, audio, and then no effect on their stress hormones with texting.
Interesting.
Yeah, so we got to figure out how to have audio be
Why do you?
That's like the AI version of like the audio of anybody.
Why do you suppose that's a thing without? I mean, if you know it's your mom texting you, why is that so different? Because the knowledge is that it's still your mom and she's still checking in on you or whatever. What's the difference, do you think?
Well, raise your hand, anyone out there who's had their mom text them and you're like, what? That's like so irritating.
Okay,
like,
I'm raising my hand.
You wrote okay. Yeah, She wrote okay with no capitalization, no smiley faces. And you're like, is she mad? Like, freak, what? So it causes me stress to have text conversations with my mom.
Yeah.
But a voice conversation, she'll use the same words. It doesn't matter. There's something about that. So I think it's related to general miscommunication. Also, think of when printed language came into the human experience. It's not been long enough for that to have any kind of... Now, poetry, we've had a long history of if it's written really well and lovely and we read it out of a book, maybe, but texting is still very in its infancy in our brains, and it causes way more problems than I think it solves sometimes.
Well, we don't know, like we're bad with tone.
Totally.
Sometimes though, like I'll just randomly in the middle of the week send Taylor like a quick "I love you" or something, "love you, babe" kind of thing. And she always responds super positively to that and knows that I'm thinking about her. And I'll talk to her too during that week. We talk every week, but it's like this little offshoot thing I can do between meetings or between shows or something just to get it out there. I mean, we're not saying that that's not effective, right? We're just saying that
doesn't reduce that's connection and maintaining connection. So of course that's fine. But if she's having a panic attack and you're just going to text her through it, it's going to be way less effective.
Yeah.
I like this app idea. I think it's really cool. In fact, I've been thinking about, I don't know what you can diagnose where this comes from, but an alternate reality that if, the last two sort of Republican presidents were elected without the popular vote. Mm-hmm. And I just had this sort of thought experiment of what would have happened if the Gore-Bush thing went differently. Mm. And Gore, let's say Gore had his, environmental stuff like top of mind, and as technology developed, like this is pre-iPhone, y'all. This is 2000. Okay, let's say of course you can't count for every variable, but like, would technology have been, would the brightest minds have all gone to algorithmic bullcrap on Facebook? Instead, would they have gone towards, I don't know, helping the planet not boil over?
Well, you have the question of whether or not society is easily pushed by particular leadership or not.
Yeah, well, and just does it switch a paradigm? Similar to if you went back to junior high and messed with a couple kids' lives in good ways, like what's the long-term impact of certain key transition points in history? Like, I guess I was thinking about the Civil War, like the last time the country was so politically divided. That's how we solved it, is we murdered 10 million people, right? Like that's how we did it, was to start over. That's a little alarming, but just this idea of like, where are these transition points? And
I don't know, like the 60s I always look at the 60s with the Civil Rights Act looming and all of that unrest and everybody freaking out and protesting and F the government and screw the man and blah, the war sucks and all that. Like we've definitely had multiple moments that we weren't significant to us because we weren't living yet or too young to notice. Like even like the Clinton stuff. I've been listening to this podcast on Slate called Slow Burn. And the first season was all about Nixon and his downfall, and it was awesome, really well made. And this new one is all about Clinton and his downfall of sorts. And I realized that it was as much of a madhouse as anything. It's just I'm, 19, 20, 21 and don't care.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Like, well, I guess I was older than that because it was in 98, so I'd have been in my mid-late 20s, but I didn't care like I care now because it was a totally different stage of life. It was all about, I have a brand new tiny baby I don't know how to deal with, and my job kind of sucks, and I'm looking for a promotion. Like I'm not paying attention to it in the way that I pay attention to it now. And I realized, man, that was just as nuts. And honestly, people are just switching pairs of pants now politically. It's like, the same people that were very big time apologists for Clinton are now mad because people are such apologists for Trump, and it's like, well, all right, I guess you can't. Everybody wants it their way, and and anyway, I guess what I'm getting at is when you study all of that, and especially the Nixon years, you realize this is always a thing. This is always a pattern we go through, and there's always these divisions. But why does it feel more intense when you're at a certain stage of your life? I don't know. I don't know what that's about.
And I think I've been thinking about it because something Abe said, and I'll tell you that in a second. But like thinking of like the linchpin moments, like Nixon ultimately decided that healthcare in the United States would be connected to your employer.
Right.
That decision was made. Every other country in the world was going in a different direction, and he went in a particular direction that we now have a really challenging system that does not serve everyone. And, you know, half of bankruptcy is medical debt. I mean, it's kind of a nightmare. And it was a linchpin moment. So I've been going back to these linchpin moments. Anyway, Abe comes home from school and he says to me, Mom, I need to understand better what depression and anxiety are.
Yeah.
Because this kid at school starts to talk about some story about some kid at school, and then this other girl had a panic attack and had to go home, and he is interacting with mental health in a way that was unknown to us when we were kids, right? And if it was, that kid was shipped off somewhere and we never knew, right? And so, you know, they have open discussions. My daughter has a class in high school that's training mindful meditation and managing stress. I mean, and you think, there's this old person in all of us that goes, oh, come on, kids. And it's like, so hold on a second, guys. We literally haven't let these kids play outside and learn how to navigate life in a field with a bunch of other kids. They don't have the same benefits that of course we had. And then there's also this part of it, which is when you were young and the Clinton stuff was happening, you didn't know it was happening because it wasn't literally in your face. But these kids, they have access to all the same news, all the same sad stuff, but their sources are memes.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, you're right. I hadn't considered that. That's a big difference too. A huge in fact, they make that point in both of those both those seasons about where we were with public access to information at the time. And in the Clinton year, or in the rather Nixon years, like it's just newspapers and the next day when Walter Cronkite would get on the air. Like that's all you had. Yeah. And so, you know, all the old people would sit around listening to that stuff. If you jump to the Clinton years, we're seeing the internet at its very, very beginning. And it was really the first time you had any kind of information that could go out to people in sort of a mass way. But it was still not anything close to what it is today. Like not even an inch of what we have today. And that absolutely plays a role, right? Like it may be the entire thing for me. Yeah.
When you rip on the younger generation and say, "Oh, these kids aren't strong," or "What's wrong with them," or blah, you have to stop and say, you know, they are aware that in 2040 they've heard the news that 2040 the temperature of the Earth will have risen to this degree and California will disappear or whatever. Like you imagine as a child hearing any of that. As an adult, I hear that and I think, oh, what are we gonna do?
Yeah.
Mars, you know, so you take a kid without any ability to control much and they know some things. I mean, my kids are studying American government, the conversations we're having about the three powers and their balance and how they can get out of balance and how, I mean, they are so they know so much more. And I'm like, what do we do? Yeah. Like so there's a reason some of this, you know, of course is occurring. Right. But it's also like, are we as the older people sort of ready to handle it, you know? Like, and I think that's what's cool about everyone who's younger is that they're going to inherit a different world and they're going to make stuff out of it that, you know.
They'll handle it in their way. And then the group behind them, same deal. It's the same. Yeah. It's the same deal. It's the pattern. It's been here since forever. There's something powerful in admitting that, I think, because I refuse. I say it now, and maybe you can all call me on it later, but I refuse to grow old and ignorant. Like, I just don't want to do it. And that's across the board. Like, I don't want to be that guy that has to call his grandkids and go, I don't understand why my hard drive light's on. Like, I don't want to be that guy in technology. I don't want to be that guy in social stuff. I don't want to be that guy at all. I want to be with it, there, at it. And I don't mean like hipster grandpa and his freaking, you know, sports car and his, fake
No,
fake hair.
rollerblades and a big beard. That's the guy you want.
That's what I want to be.
And a robe, like a.
And a robe. Yeah.
Right. That'd be okay. Fine. All of that
Let's
I can do.
design Scott right now. Does Scott is an old man? What is it? What is it going to be? Rollerblades, beard, a robe.
Yeah. Is that it? Just a robe and nothing else?
Well, you'll have like a baggy green, camo green T-shirt underneath, and maybe some lounge pants, black lounge pants.
Super cargo pants.
Oh man,
like so many cargo.
Oh yeah, right.
I wanted to free ball it. All right, fine, cargo pants.
A kilt. That'd be even better.
Why do I picture this guy carrying a giant boombox too?
Totally.
Chat room says wizard hat. They want a wizard hat.
Yes.
Basically, you're gonna look like Gandalf on the Strand in Venice Beach.
Some kind of combo of Gandalf and Doc Brown from Back to the Future 2. I'll be that combination. All right, I'm locking it in, guys. That's what I'll do. But as far as like my outlook on things, I just don't ever want to be. Well, that's not how we used to do it. And then there's your line. I hate that. Like, it annoys me when people do it, and I don't want to do that. Now, some might say earlier my stance on there's too many pretty people on TV is me doing that. I don't think so. I'm being critical of a thing, but I'm not like going, you kids don't understand the way it used to be, because there's plenty of good stuff now where they're not all pretty people. So I don't think it counts. All I'm saying is I don't want to be that guy, all right? So I'm making a public, on-air commitment right now to not be that guy as I get older. All right? All right.
Fair enough.
Okay, wow. We're holding you to it.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yep, it's locked in. We've got an audio documented this date, 10/11/2018.
Somebody write that down.
I think you can apply this to individuals very, very easily, which is, we sort of all have our own linchpin moments, right?
Yeah.
And you can't go back and change anything. They are what they are, and I think that's a lot of people get really stuck on that. And it's sort of navigating this alternate life. It can either be fantasy that destroys you. Like I have this vision, of course, Al Gore becomes president, and then the top national policy is environmental. That's probably never would have been real, but fantasy is easy to go backwards or to make up futures. Fear and depression, anxiety are really just everything but the moment you're in, right? It's
right.
Fear of the future, fear of what the past means, or sad about the past, or hopeless about the future. It's never like, where am I in this moment? And I think, so I think we do that as individuals. We sort of can look at our past and that linchpin moment and say, well, if I had only married Susie, my life. And then you just make up, you don't realize that Susie horks boogers in her sleep. Oh, please record that.
Oh, don't
it's
worry.
recorded.
Jamie's got that all taken care of.
Yeah, we'll isolate
As
that
I'm
out.
saying, I'm like, stop saying it. You don't have to say it just because it's in your head.
That's fine.
Anyway,
No,
that's my old lady.
I've
thing.
learned
It
you got to
is
let
what
it out. You have to let it out. You can't hold that stuff
We've
in.
glamorized Susie, though.
Yeah, that's fine.
So yeah, you think Susie's so great, but really the truth is she's weird and does weird stuff, and life is hard, and you can't predict any of that. But there's a bit of brain crack in that, right? Which is, I can feel good about this thing because I don't feel control in my own life. And so sort of, what do you do in the moment that actually makes you feel like you have more control? And most people, I've had a recent slew of that's not a thing. Recent slew of clients or contact with people who will come to me and say their adult children are not behaving the way they want them to.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, and they'll say, they were a certain person under my roof, and then they moved out and went to college, and then they immediately lived a completely different life. And I was like, so tell me how well you think you knew them. Well, I knew everything about them. I'm like, did ya? And what it is the kids doing their own thing, and they got out of your house and they're doing their own thing. And they're women in particular that I've been talking to, most of them. And they're just so alarmed. And I heard you're really good with this sort of thing. And I will say, okay, interesting. Your adult child. Guess what? You're done parenting. Now let's talk about your relationship with your spouse. And they're like, what?
Yeah.
And
well, it's not me, it's them.
Yeah.
I know. And 100% of the time they're like, I didn't call you to talk about my husband. I called to talk about my daughter, my son. And I'm like, yeah, but the problem is not your daughter or your son. The problem is your marriage.
Yeah.
Like, what?
Yeah.
And it's because we will project all of our stuff in some way or other onto something else. if we don't deal with the real thing, right? And that's Susie from that linchpin moment would have been the best thing, etc. Like, it's so easy to fantasize or escape real life because the real thing in front of us takes a lot of work and is hard. And so it's funny, this one woman just said, fine, I'm going to trust you because everyone said you'll help me with my daughter. And I said, yep. So let's work on your marriage.
Yeah.
And so as we've worked on her marriage and it's improved and things are, she's being really honest. And one time I said, so we haven't talked about your daughter in a long time. She's like, oh yeah. Let me think. I'm like, really? She's not top of mind. It's not everything you think about. And it's because that's what we tend to do. We find a place that sort of, I don't know, we can get, and I think this is where, tying it back to politics, I think sometimes this is where people get a bit crazy about things that are kind of irrelevant to them, because it's a place to vent some anger. It's a place to be self-righteous. It's a place to, rather than deal with our crappy marriage.
Well, now you can do it
My
in
marriage is crap, but by
Right.
golly, I really don't like this new chief judge or this new justice for the Supreme Court.
Right. But you can the difference is now you can be really public about your venting, and you get feedback that's sometimes negative, sometimes positive, but it's a loop that I think people like. I mean,
of course they
I know
do.
when I post some art, I love to hear that people like it. I mean, who am I kidding? Of course I do. And if I hear that someone doesn't like it, I go, wait, why does that one person out of 3,000 not like it? To get all worked up about it. Like, that's the psychology. And it's like everybody. That's how we all do stuff. So
well, and and I know I always harp on this, but it really comes back to evolutionary biology in that your survival depends on the group. The group determines if you're alive or not. So there is an awesome episode of Invisibilia that you should listen to called The Call Out.
Oh, that's so good.
Have you heard it?
Yeah, I love that show. It's a great
fantastic.
show. Yeah.
And it's about sort of self-patrolling group of what do you call it? The music scene in Virginia. It's like heavy. It's not heavy metal. It's just screaming, basically.
What are they? Oh, whatever it's called.
hard.
I mean, I've screamo or
Is it called screamo?
It is. We call it screamo. It's that though, Brian. It's that. It's
That's
whatever that is.
Right. And how they sort of have self-policed sexual harassment amongst themselves in the last 6 years, and it has an awesome twist at the end, and kind of that idea. And then they interview a psychologist who talks about, the most painful thing we can inflict on a person is to socially isolate them. And I think that's ultimately, you banish someone from a community, you're sentencing them to, on biological terms, death, right? Because back in the day, when you were in your little hunter and gathering group and you banished someone, they died.
Yeah.
They wandered until they couldn't sustain themselves. And so that is so deeply, so texting doesn't work for us, but I'll tell you what does. Social banishment. That is, there's a reason it's used as a torture method for prisoners.
Yeah.
It really messes with everything.
It's also there's also a really great death protest too much thread in that particular episode, which comes up a lot. The people sometimes who are the loudest about a change or pushing an agenda, whatever it may be, in whatever direction it may be, it always seems like there's something going on there. Like there's always something hidden or some little piece of the pie you missed before, or finding out they used to do a thing that's in complete opposite of what they're now claiming to be. That always just bums me out. And that.
Well, don't you think it's because the regular person who's kind of neutral to middle ground and reasonable isn't going to quit their day job and go protest all day at the county, whatever?
No,
you're
right.
What I mean? Like there's
You're
a
right.
little bit of, there has to be some fire for that to happen. And it's usually because there's a redemption thing happening, maybe.
No, I agree. There's like, and then people are so slow to want to give that redemption. And sometimes it's, easy to see why. You got some dude from a Colorado megachurch yelling at gays and drug users every week, and then getting caught in a hotel with a gay prostitute and a bag full of meth.
Mm-hmm. Is that real?
Oh yeah, that's real. That guy is real.
From the great state of Colorado.
Yeah, and it's
right.
hard for him. It's it will ever be hard for him to ever find redemption in the eyes of the public court. But it always does seem to kind of go that way. The loudest people about a thing are like, I never trust anyone who just hates gay people, like really hates them, because I think they're doing it with dudes.
Lindsey Graham?
Yeah, Lindsey Graham might be gay. We're not saying for sure, but the
signs are there.
I've told you how much.
There's no proof that he isn't.
Do you want to hear my? You want to hear my dumb political joke? This is super dumb. How much does a aging political hack weigh? A Lindsey Graham. It's pretty good. I made that one up. See.
Really? You made it up?
I made that joke up.
Like, here's the only joke I've ever made up. What's a pig that's no fun to be with?
Hold on. I don't know.
A boar.
Oh. You're like Joe Bazooka. This is amazing.
All right, I lied. I stole that from my friend.
Oh,
I really
such a liar.
I feel like the origin story. Sometimes you get mixed up and you think it was you. I'm pretty sure it was not me, but it's possible I made that up.
All right. Oh, someone says my Lindsey Graham joke is not. Oh no, they're talking about whether he's gay or not. All right, we don't know. We don't know what he is. Who knows what he is?
No, and who cares if he's gay?
Yeah,
but
be
could
gay.
you stop hating all the gays? That'd be great.
Yeah, maybe be openly gay and admit who you are. That's fine. I like a good.
Here's my empathy for Lindsey Graham. If he is gay, he is in the great state of South Carolina, probably raised in a certain way and a manner that there is no way his conscious mind will allow him to ever risk like that. I mean,
Oh no, he can never. Yeah, he can't be.
Yeah.
Openly gay for
It's
Lindsey
sad.
Graham is not an option ever. No. If he's
Am I
actually
the
gay.
only one that's ever thought this? Is this not a thing gone around?
No, it's totally a thing. It's not. It's not just you. Yeah, there's.
Okay.
I mean, there's been like rumors based on actual interactions with the guy that seem, whatever. And again, it's not that he's gay. Who cares? Be gay. Be gay as you want to be. Just don't be this tool.
Right.
Don't
use your frustration about not being able to be who you are to come out against people who are who they are.
Yeah.
Right. It's that's the thing.
Chat room's throwing all kinds of shade in there.
It's the what?
The chat room's throwing shade on a bunch of other. Trump is gay too, says Stoic Squirrel.
No, Trump is definitely not gay.
Yeah.
He's something else. But that idea that you're sort of, well, let's take Trump actually for an example. Like, it took half a second of me looking at a picture of his father. This is before the man was president. And it explains everything. Like, there is some childhood, not good enough, ego, weird jive that is it's so obvious, right? And so there's a part of me that has a lot of sympathy for that. Like, you're still not going to ever be good enough. You've been president of the United States, and it's still not enough to fill the void of whatever. Like, that's kind of human life. That's why we need to be really good to children.
Yeah, be nice to your kids. Be nice to your kids, or they could grow up to be a weird orange beast. So be careful. Be nice. Be nice to your children, rich and poor.
See, everybody, you need to call in, or Scott and Brian are going to talk about stupid crap. So this is a lesson to all of you.
That's right. And also, nobody called, and that's their fault, chat room, for not calling.
That's what I'm saying.
Don't worry about it.
Blame the victim.
Always blame the victims. Wendy, it's been a pleasure as always. Anything to tell me about before you go? Any kind of
No, I have some stuff coming up that it's not quite ready, but everyone get excited.
Therapythursdays.com in the meantime. Go there and leave messages. Check out the stuff Wendy's written. It's good stuff. And you can also follow her on Instagram over there at Wendy Dunford. That's always a hoot to follow what's going on over there and get fun stuff with her kids.
Now you can see down home pictures of Minnesota.
Yeah, Minnesota.
Oh,
don't you
know?
know? Yeah. Hey, the heck do you mean? The heck do you mean? All right. Wendy,
look at the picture of this hot dish.
Yeah, look at this hot dish right here. Bye, Wendy. All right. She's gone. Nobody had any real problems today. I guess they didn't have to come.
No, we've solved all the problems.
We had a great discussion.
Wendy has. All right, let's admit it. Yeah. Wendy did it.
But I did that thing that I do, which is I have a little thing off to the side just in case, and that's what we did today.
Yeah, smart.
Take that.
Little backup.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know why we don't have any calls today.
That's the worst.
Yeah.
It's the worst. That's bad radio, by the way, when people do that.
That's right. Always have a backup.
Always have a backup. All right. Hey, we're done. I want to play a quick mashup. Susie. Yeah, but if it's yes. Oh, yes. A mashup called Brian and Scott Sing Along Part 3.
Ooh, I saw him tweeting about this yesterday. All right.
Yeah. Good. So let's see what this is all about by playing it and seeing if we regret it. Here you go. Right here. But they both
If you want
do.
to work for Smash Burger, step on it, son. You gotta smash the burger with a puck and then put it on a bun.
If I could turn back time.
If you can turn back time and give another answer.
I'm wearing something that's all the way up my butt.
1/8 breed. I don't hate the word. 1/8 breed.
Sitting on a park bench. That'd be cool.
Skating on the thin ice.
This album is terrible.
Shoppers walking with their presents. Dashing through the snow in a one-horse open sleigh.
Open sleigh.
Over the hills we go. Laughing all the way.
Nobody helps him.
Faceless, genderless person in a coma. I know. All right.
It's serious.
I used to love, oh my gosh, I still do. I love the Smiths. I love Morrissey.
I went out for a job and I found a job. And heaven knows I'm miserable now.
That is so it. Let's get down to business. And yeah, that does to me as well. This is the place.
Yeah.
Utah.
Around. Utah is the place you found.
Exactly.
She's got a heart of gold. Her lips a sweet surprise. Her hands are never cold. She's got oversensitive eyes.
She's had it in there for 28 years.
Hampton on the coast of New Hampshire.
I know.
Kicking a seagull with my cheeseburger.
It's
Kick the seagull, kick the seagull, kick the seagull. Kick the seagull, kick the seagull.
I took my cheeseburger, kicked the seagull. Oh my Lord. The things we do that I don't remember doing.
I sure hope Morrissey is a listener. I believe he totally is, and he listens every day and never misses an episode.
Oh, I'm sure he does. He's cool. He's a cool guy. I like that guy, except sometimes he says things that are dumb. Well done. Good stuff there, Jamie. TMS Mashups on Twitter if you want to follow him and suggest things you think he should capture from the show if you think he's missed anything. I personally think he misses nothing, so probably not a lot to suggest, but there he is anyway, TMS Mashups.
There are things that I wish he'd miss.
That's true.
Before we get out of here, a reminder that this show is brought to you primarily by patreon.com/TMS. It is our lifeline to make a show that you like, so support us if you have not yet. You're still some of you out there who have not. Well, you certainly can. And when I say some, it's a lot of you. Go do it. Patreon.com/TMS, and big thanks to everyone who already does. Today I'm doing artwork for the month of October for our patrons, so very excited. TMS Mashups is our guy. I already said that. Frogpants.com/TMS is our website. You'll find all our stuff there. If you're looking for me and Brian on Twitter, that's easy. Coverville for Brian. I'm at Scott Johnson. The show's at Morning Stream. And tomorrow we got the Instance. We got, I think, the WoW Team Stream rating things going on. And what else tomorrow? There's a film sack this weekend. There are all kinds of stuff coming up.
Yes.
So check that out. All right, Brian. You got anything else? You just want to play a song? What do you want to do?
I'll just tell people yesterday's episode of Coverville featured Radiohead. Came out very well, if I do say so myself. Although, really, it's not me. I just play the music. Other people make it. And so when it's good, it's because of them.
Sure.
The yesterday's episode, Radiohead, go check that out.
Nice.
All right, let's get to a request.
Okay.
Keaton wrote in and said, "Hey, Stone and Brick. Well, I am excited to say I've recently made the leap into home ownership as a 26-year-old in Southern California. I feel insanely fortunate to be able to do this, and I was hoping to get any house-related cover to celebrate. Thank you both for all you do and all the entertainment you provide. You both have been a huge part of my life for many years now and will continue to be a huge part of my life because, let's face it, just about the only thing I'll be able to afford in the near future is listening to your podcast." Thanks again. Signed, Keaton. P.S. Give me your best homeowning tips. Ooh.
Oh, man. Do you have a good one?
Tips.
What's a good one? What do you like?
Be good friends with your neighbors because the last thing you want to do is have any sort of animosity with the people who are a few feet away from your house all the time.
I agree. Also, check your water heater and make sure, do a kind of a regular check on that and change out your filters on your air system regularly. Those two things can cause problems if you haven't been doing that, especially the water heater thing. You'll suddenly be flooding and you're like, oh my Lord. What else? Also,
pay your mortgage.
Pay your mortgage. Be on time. Build your credit. All that stuff. Yeah, right, exactly. I think that's good. Brian's neighbor one is a good one though, because it's kind of everything. If you've got a big old fight happening with a neighbor, It just sucks. It's the worst.
It totally does. Yeah.
So there you go. Good, and congratulations. That's awesome. Well done.
Yeah. Very cool. All right, so a house-related cover. This was one of the ones that, one of the songs that he suggested finding a cover of, and it works out perfectly because a few months ago, I think it was